Hi, welcome again to Cooking at the Lake. Y'all are going to be so excited today. We're at the house of Amy and Randy Rummel, and we're going to make sausage, which I think is very adventurous. And but you promise that we can do it, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, good.
No
Now,
worries.
Randy is known as a sausage guy, so we are very, very lucky to have him today. Thank you for having us.
My pleasure.
Okay, so how do we do this?
We're going to put the knives and the plate on our grinder. And as I was saying, you want to keep an individual knife for each of the plates. If you are at home and you're going to start doing this, when you buy a plate, you always want to buy a knife just for it, because
And this is what you call a knife?
this is a knife.
Oh, okay.
And this is a plate.
Okay.
And so this will turn against the back of it and grind your meat.
Oh.
But as it turns, it creates little grooves in the plate. And so you want to try to keep it matched up if you can. That's the 1/8 inch plate for an emulsion type grind. This was a 3/16 inch plate, which we're going to actually use to begin with, just to make like a ground pork product. Again, if you want a little bit more texture, this is a 1/4 inch plate, and this is a 3/8, which we'll be using for the Italian sausage today, so that we get a lot of definition in that product. With the, through the casing, you'll be able to see the individual components. Managed to, but for the most part, I do. So what we're doing first, before we make our Italian sausage, we're making 10 pounds of Italian sausage, but when you buy it, you don't necessarily buy just 10 pounds of meat. So we got 17 pounds of meat, and so we're going to make a little over 7 pounds of just ground pork.
Well, let's talk about that for a minute. So you're making a large amount of sausage. And when you go about this,
small batch.
Oh, well, you have a big family. But when you make, you don't want to go to all this trouble for a small amount, right? Is that correct?
That is correct.
And you can freeze it. Is that another good point?
Yeah, we backpack it. And freeze
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Oh, that's a good idea too.
Yeah.
So when you do this, this is an adventure to do in a large quantity.
We've kind of shifted. Like historically, we would have a day, and we still plan to, with extended family, where we do 150 pounds, 200 pounds, something like that. Or like I'd have a bunch of friends over, and we'd have a sausage day, and it's quite it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun. And then everybody takes home some sausage. But since we're recently moved to Virginia here, it's more Amy and I. So we tend to do more smaller batches, and we'll do 5 pounds or 10 pounds. But you're right, it's a lot of cleanup, and you want to try to make more things.
Now you said that we're going to make Italian sausage today.
We are.
Okay, let's talk a little bit of basics about sausage, because I know that there's such a variety. Now let's talk specifically about what we're going to make today, but then can you expand a little bit on, cured meat or, yeah, tell me a little bit about that.
So as I said, we're making it's a fresh sausage. So if you're going to, let's say you're at home, you're saying, I'm going to make a sausage today. So you have basically 3 choices. You're going to make a fresh sausage or a cooked sausage, which is generally cured.
Okay.
And that means it has sodium nitrate in it, nitrite, or a fermented sausage, kind of less, more dried, like a salami.
Okay.
So those would be your 3: fresh, cooked, dried.
Okay.
The last 2 are cured products. And I know we had a conversation before about this. It's an interesting loophole in the what's going on with cured meats today. Like there's a lot of uncured bacons and hams and salamis out there. But keep in mind, they are actually cured. If you look at the product and it's red and has a different look than a pork chop does, it's cured. And I actually thought of an analogy for it. So that gets its cure from, let's say, celery salt or celery powder or celery juice mostly, or dirty sea salt. But it's still cured. It's kind of like if you bought a white car, and one way it got white was through eggshells being on it, and the other one was with a paint. It's still a white car. So how you get there is different when you buy an uncured product. So just to keep that in mind.
Well, you mentioned celery salt, and I know that you said in our previous meeting that celery salt is used to get the juice out or get the wet out.
So they grow celery specifically to provide a product to the meat industry how you can cure your meat. So they will raise the celery, which is really hygroscopic. It pulls water in, and so it'll pull the nitrites in as it is growing, and then they make a juice or a powder out of that, and then they were able to cure it.
Wow. Well, my granddaughter did an experiment at school where they put celery in different colored water glasses, and the celery turned different colors. But I'm used to using celery where you put it in like with steak or meats, and then it gives more juice to it.
Right.
So I found that fascinating, the celery situation. So, but it's just another way to pull some of the wet out.
No, it's another way to get the sodium nitrate into the product.
Oh, okay.
So when you're curing, I mean, the reason why it was originally used was to guard against botulism.
Oh.
So it is, although we don't like the term in these days, we're trying to stay away from those type of things. It is health-wise, there are benefits to putting it into a meat.
Well, that's interesting. Okay, so now what do we do?
Well, we're gonna grind this just 7 pounds of just straight pork through our 3/16 inch plate, and we're just gonna make this into ground pork.
Okay.
So I would use that, say, like if you're making a meatloaf, or we'll make some just some breakfast sausage out of it in a very small batch.
Now let's talk about the meat. So this is a pork butt. Is that correct?
Yep.
And it's a lot of the fat is left in the meat itself.
Believe it or not, I mean, when you look at it, it looks fairly fatty, but it's compared to like a commercial sausage, this is about 15% fat. So most of your commercial sausages are going to be, sometimes up to 40% fat.
Wow.
Like in a hot dog, for instance, that's 35 to 40% fat generally. Okay. So we're making a product here that is, pretty lean, relative to the, sausage
All
world,
right. So pork butt cut up into pieces this size.
That'll get through there. So I'll turn this on. Ooh. Hopefully that won't be too loud.
No. And you're feeding the meat through the tube. Oh, look at that! We're already making sausage. I love this.
It is.
You make it look so easy. Oh my gosh, look at that.
I mean, I'm not doing the work. The grinder is.
Oh my gosh, I'm amazed. Oh.
So one thing you might want to kind of pay attention to a little bit is the particle size of this. So if you look at it, it's about like Hamburg would be.
Yeah.
As far as the, the thickness of the strand that's coming out, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
So that's a 3/16 inch plate.
That is really amazing. I mean, I know people do it all day and they've probably seen it, but I'm new to this. I mean, doing it right here. Wow, you are a sausage guy. Look at this. You're already started. Oh,
wait till we start making links. You're going to go crazy.
Oh, man, I'll be over the moon. This is really fascinating. So we're just doing the meat, and then we'll season the meat.
Not this, though. This is just going to be ground pork.
Just ground pork. Yeah. Okay.
So the next batch we run through here will be seasoned for Italian.
Oh, okay.
So like I say, I keep this for things like making a meatloaf, or I'll make a breakfast sausage out of it, or just things where, like in a store.
So is this the base then, would you say?
Yeah, it's, it's just, imagine Hamburg, but it's pork.
Okay.
The next one. So now I'm going to do something, it's a little trade secret.
Oh, a trade secret.
It helps a lot. I'm going to come over here, ice and run through there.
Oh.
Because
we'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah. You'll see what happens. I'm going to put this ice through the grinder.
Okay.
So that it helps to clear out some of this meat and cleans up the plate a little bit, so it's not quite so bad. You'll see it.
And the ice won't hurt the machine?
It's funny you say that. I did crack a tube on one. It got it too hot.
Oh.
Or too cold, but no, mostly it.
Now, if you have a smaller grinder, that's not going to make a difference as much.
No,
now,
just take you longer.
Ice in there, is that going to be okay too?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you don't put too much, but see how that's all ice coming out.
Oh,
right now? That's just water.
Wow, that's a trade secret. Helps. That's good.
Yeah, that helps clear that out.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, here, I'll move this out of your way. Okay, so again, you're putting in the knife is what you call it, and then we're going to put in a different
plate.
head.
You can notice how much bigger the holes are in that.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what's going to give us our definition. And it's a choice, because when you're eating the sausage, there is a textural difference.
Now, do you prefer the bigger holes for certain meats?
Yeah, well, certain products. I will say most sausages are made out of pork. There are some beef sausages out there, beef hot dogs. You're going to make your texture choice based on the type of product you're making versus what the species of the meat is.
Okay, and what is this?
This is the same. This is
Same
exactly
thing.
the same meat.
Okay. Now, is this different or just more of it?
Just more of it. 10
Okay.
pounds instead of 7. Yeah.
Now, do you like the texture of it being left out for maybe an hour? You know how steak gets better if you leave it out for an hour, or do you
No, the
freeze
exact
it, or
opposite.
what do you do?
The exact. So this has just come out of the freezer, like just being tempered. So I want it as cold as I can get it and still grind. Because as I said, the same reason I'm using a big plate, we want this product to have a lot of definition.
Okay.
So we want it to, when you look in the casing, you want to see little bits of meat and little bits of fat, and kind of, it looks, old school stuff. And that's kind of a desirable trait in a sausage. You want to see definition. So if you have a sausage that just kind of, like a hot dog, you're not going to get any of that. You want that to be an emulsion. But if you buy, like, say, a bratwurst, and you can't see the little particles, that's called smear. So that's where the fat and meat have just kind of gotten smeared together, and it's, generally not a desirable thing.
You just said a hot dog, you don't necessarily want to see what's in it. Well, that is a rule of thumb everywhere, isn't it? You don't want to know what's in a hot dog.
I will say hot dogs might be a little bit the exception, but for the most part, when you buy sausage products, most of them are, they're the idea of, all this junk going in there and stuff.
Yeah.
There's a lot of chemicals and stuff that go in sometimes for different reasons, but for the most part, they're making it out of a reasonable kind of meat.
I see. Now, also,
most
you brought up the idea of smeared versus just like
definition.
Right. Talk to me a little bit about how, the trend now is a smash burger where you go to a restaurant. Now, what's the difference between like a regular burger and a smash burger, and what do you get for each one?
Okay. So it's a kind of a good segue into what we're going to do. What you want in like a hamburger, for me personally, what I want is a hamburger that's tender and loose, and the same things like with a sausage patty, let's say. But in a product like this, you want the product to have some bind.
Okay.
So what we're going to do is when we mix the product, we're going to extract, as well as mixing the ingredients, we're going to extract a protein called myosin. So that salt and the massaging and the mixing of the meat extracts myosin, which makes the product bind. So with a hot dog, you want bind. So you're going to mix that a lot.
Okay.
With this product, we want kind of a medium bind. We don't want really it to be like biting into a rock. We want it to be kind of, especially because we're using big textures.
But when you make a burger,
Right.
you don't want it to be mixed so tight.
Right.
Because,
Exactly.
okay.
So like, for instance, when I make a burger, I never, sit there and mash it like this and go like that. Because every time you're doing that, you're getting, and as you notice, if you're doing that, the product is becoming sticky.
It is, yeah.
And that's myosin. So what I do is I'll take just a lump right out, don't form it at all, and just smash it with a plate.
Okay.
And kind of make it so it sticks, just form it a little bit, and try to handle it as little as possible.
Okay. And it's interesting because,
makes it tender.
yeah, so bread's sort of like that. Some recipes you don't want to touch them as much.
The whole gluten, yeah.
Yeah, so meat is the same way in some particular. It's interesting. Thank you. That's a lesson to learn.
So now we'll see a completely different product coming out
Oh,
because of the size of grind.
okay.
And it won't look like hamburger.
Oh, wow. You're right. That looks interesting.
Well, and again, it's not every, certain people have preferences. So I like the textural side of it in the sausage.
Yeah.
For as far as chewing and, mouthfeel.
Yeah.
Some people might not like it this coarse. So for instance, when you make a hot dog, for instance, you would have to grind it like this and then put that very small plate in and make that emulsion through the 1/8" plate.
Oh, wow.
Or in commercial, they really want
of work.
in commercial industry, they have what's called a bowl chopper, which they put the meat in and then it turns it into almost like a pudding.
Wow. Well, it sounds like there's a lot of chemistry in it. I know it's,
There is.
because you're trying to figure out how each part of the sausage reacts to the other part of the sausage, and a lot of that has to do with the chemical reaction.
Yep.
Sounds like to me. So it's kind
Well,
of
and
nice
it's
to
even
have
more
that.
so like with the salami, like a fermented product, you're actually inoculating the product with the bacteria to get it to ferment.
Wow.
So that's you really have to be on your game when you make fermented product.
Wow.
So we're going to do the same thing here.
Okay.
So this will obviously clear out easier. We don't like making hot dogs because those little 1/8" plates are.
Okay, so you're doing the ice trick again,
The ice trick
which is
again.
great
Yeah.
to clean it out.
See, this plate provides a lot less resistance.
I see. Yeah. Wow, that is amazing.
Okay.
Fantastic. Oh, that's really beautiful. I mean, as far as ground meat goes.
It can only get so beautiful.
I mean, yeah. But
Even I have my limits on it.
I guess it's just it's phenomenal that you can do this.
Well, there's I think a lot of people we've had a lot of fun, and like people who have never thought they'd enjoy it. It can be a lot of fun doing it as, like I say, a group of people, and spend the day. And it is hard, by the end of 150 pounds, it's a lot of work.
I'll bet. I might
fun.
Start smaller. So, Randy, this is the next step
This is the next step. We're going to mix it. So, as I said, we have a couple of missions here, a couple of things we want to achieve.
Now, this is a mixture of...
So, we use about 1.5% kosher salt, which is pretty common for fresh sausage making. And you want to use kosher salt because you don't want the iodized salt in there. Then we have black pepper, which we use both fine and coarse. So that gives you, the fine kind of gives you a background pepper, whereas the coarse is a more textural, and you bite a piece of coarse texture and you get more of a pepper burst, so to speak. Fennel seed, which I prefer, I like, and I know Mary Jane said she likes it in a hot Italian sausage. A little bit of cayenne, just very little. Paprika, which that's going to give us the nice red color of an Italian sausage. And then crushed red, so the paprika gives you a little bit of heat at the back of your throat. The crushed red is what you feel in your mouth. And then red wine contributes a little bit of acidity, and it's not one of those kind of things where you say, oh, let's add more red wine. More wine's good. So it's not always. So you want the proper amount of acidity, and then the water helps with the bringing the whole sausage together. You can actually sprinkle that in. Just
is this
a light?
Then I can say I actually made sausage.
Just about a third of it. Just about a third of it.
You tell me when.
A little bit more. Okay, that's good.
Have it already pre-mixed.
So I'm going to use about a quarter of a bottle or so in this. But again, as I said, we don't really want to overdo it.
Now, if somebody doesn't drink, let's say, and they really don't want any alcohol, is that okay?
You wouldn't have to put it in, but keep in mind, by the time it is actually cooked, much of the alcohol itself is cooked out of it.
I understand.
But not as much as if, go ahead, we can do maybe about another,
about
another third.
I like this because then I can say I actually made them sausage, so, I'll take all the credit and you can just be in the background looking pretty, okay?
Works for me. When you're mixing like this, if you're, you want to try to say, hey, I want to make some sausage, you really, when you think you've got it mixed, you're starting to get there. You really need to get this so it's, getting sticky and getting the ingredients are really through there. See, if you made a link out of that right now, the link would just fall apart. There would be no bind to it. So that's what we're looking for.
There is a lot of definition there too, with the fat and the meat itself. So that's really cool. Oh, I'm getting more and more excited, I tell you.
About half of what's left.
Okay.
Yeah, it gives a good smell too.
Oh, it does. This is a great tool, these buckets. This is a great idea.
We call them a lugger, and they are, I have probably, 15 of them, and we just use them, for a lot of different things.
Wow. So keep mixing, and then when you feel like you've mixed it enough, keep on mixing, huh? Okay, all right.
But you can see already how it's starting to get a little bit sticky.
Definitely.
But we have a little bit ways to go.
And I like this. You spread it out again before you start putting more in. That's great. Instead of doing a big old chunk. I'm going to learn a lesson from that too. But I'm a hamburger musher. I have one of those Tupperware things that you got, 100 years ago at a Tupperware party. Yes.
But if you use those properly, they actually make a very tender burger. Because again, all you're doing is mashing it. If you put it in there loose, if you do your patty and then put it in there, it's going to be tough. But if you just put it in there, it should be nice.
Well, I got to say, if I went to the trouble of making homemade sausage for anybody and they complained about it, I would not have them back, that's for sure. But
loosen it up just a little
now,
bit.
what brought y'all here to Lake Monticello?
Well, we were looking to get on the water somewhere, and we had looked over it around the Chesapeake quite a bit, and just didn't feel like home. We came here looking, and we saw an ad, real estate ad, and came here and just loved the area. Just fell in love with it. The Charlottesville area, we just love it. Yeah. So we found, Lake Monticello, and That was about 3 years ago, and it was hard to find a place to, not a lot of places come up for sale, or they weren't. And so we waited and found this. And
Well, it's a beautiful place, that's for sure.
so I think we're just about ready now.
Oh, wonderful. Okay.
So this will be another little setup.
Okay.
So what we have here is a stuffing machine, and the tube that's coming out of there is called a horn. And this particular horn is geared towards hog casings, which is what we're going to make today, which would be like, you'd think of that as being like a bratwurst or that sort of size, or an Italian sausage. So the other ones, this would be used for like a snack stick or a hot dog, like a sheep casing. So these are hog casings. They make sheep casings. When you buy a hot dog that's natural casing, that's a sheep casing. And then this would be just for a mid-size, like a salami type of thing. And this would be for more like a summer sausage, a bigger.
And amazing that y'all work so well in the kitchen together and make it together. That's great.
We enjoy it.
Okay, so what are you doing now?
So we're going to put this into here. We're going to load the stuffer. And again, you don't need, because it's kind of a hobby of mine, I've got one of these that's like 3 times that size. But you can do this just through a KitchenAid, just with the attachment that they sell. And they have the same hog casing and everything. So it's, you don't need the specialized equipment.
And you're loading the pork into the loader.
Yeah.
And
you want to try to get the air out of it.
okay.
I'm guessing our 10 pounds won't fit. Generally doesn't.
Wow. I'm just amazed.
Nice smell now. You smell it?
I do. Making me hungry.
Well, we'll cook some up at the end here.
Okay.
So that's another thing I guess to talk about a little bit is, so if you make this recipe, if somebody chooses and they see it on there, how do we use it? So much of the way we use it would be like cooking on the grill, or with some, the way we'll have it today, just on a griddle with onions and peppers, maybe on a bun. Or you can use it in sauce, like a red sauce.
Yeah.
Or
Spaghetti sauce, yeah.
What we do a lot is put it in like a baking dish with some peppers and onions, things like that. Put some marinara sauce in it. Put them in there after you brown them, and then cover it with mozzarella cheese.
Oh man,
Just
that
so it's
sounds
just
delicious.
Yeah.
So these types of equipment that you have are professional grade in some ways.
This is more like a home. I mean, this is quite inexpensive. I mean, I think
really?
this is like $129 or something.
That's not bad. No, if you love doing it, it's an investment.
Yeah. And this is a kind of a thing that's only
Whoa,
happened.
what is that?
These are the casings, and they started. I don't know how long ago, but for me, I only found out about it not all that long ago, where they put these tubes through. Before that, you had to manually separate them and clean them, and it was kind of a.
So you buy them like this?
Yep.
Oh man,
So
thank you for teaching us all this. I really appreciate it.
Underneath there.
Look at that.
No, underneath. Reach
Now,
underneath.
what is this made out of?
Hog. So slow. Don't point more. Hog casing. So it's hog intestine.
But we're eating this all the time. I don't know why I'm like amazed.
Well, interestingly, like a hot dog, you can buy a hot dog either way. You can buy what's called a skinless hot dog or a natural casing hot dog.
Okay, so Amy's pulling out the
plastic
part, and it just kind of feeds through. Awesome.
So now what we're going to do is just kind of turn this down until we get a little bit of product here, because we don't want all that air in there.
Okay.
Oh,
so we're pushing out the air.
Clicker thing. It's in the room, but we don't need it right this second. Okay, so what I'm going to do is put a little, so put that in. I'll put some water on here so that this product will slide when it comes off. Okay.
So you're like flouring your,
there you go, yeah.
in a way. Yeah. All right, so you water the counter a little bit.
Just to make it so the product slides around.
Okay, because you don't want to gum it up.
No.
And then what are you doing here? Tying off
Just tying a knot, tying the first link.
So first you got the air out a little bit, and you saw where it came to the end. Then you tie the end of the intestines.
Yep.
And then start out.
By the way, they are cleaned intestines.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure.
And they're well salted, so we're going to go fairly
good.
slow. So this will start coming out, and you'll get the idea.
And this is where Amy is. Ah, look at that! Oh my gosh, that's incredible.
But you can see that definition we've been talking about.
Oh yeah. Wow. And you're just going to do the consistent. Oh, and you're rolling. I've seen this before in professional things. So you roll it. Amazing.
You try to keep it as consistent.
And you
as
think
you can.
this is definitely a two-person job when you're doing
You know
this
what?
part?
People. Well, there's a couple of things like that. You can buy this with a hydraulic thing on it, so you just push your foot and it does it. You know, people who are really good can do it by themselves, and I can sometimes, but it's just safer this way.
Well, and look, teamwork makes the dream work, right?
There you go. We do enjoy. We very much enjoy working in the kitchen together.
Oh, that's so nice. That's so nice. Oh, and I can see some of the spices too throughout.
That's probably not good.
Oh,
No,
well,
it's all right, but yeah, it's hard to get them perfect when you're hand mixing like that. But.
That's amazing. Oh, Amy, you're doing a phenomenal job.
Thank you. Practice, practice.
So I think I'm
That's
gonna.
it. That's how you get to Carnegie Hall. Practice, practice,
I
practice.
think what we're gonna do. We're there anyhow. Okay, good. Okay.
Yep.
All right, so back that off. Now this is important. If you do happen to get one of these, if you might have heard, I said back that off. If you are cranking and you let go of that, it'll put you in the hospital.
Oh.
It goes, it'll whirl.
Okay.
Sweat.
Okay, so you're stopping when? What is this? The circle is
we're all
big
back-
enough?
we're all-
Oh,
we're-
okay. Okay.
So now we will put the rest of that meat in there.
Okay. And you're tying off the end. Okay. Whoa, look at that. Look
Kinda
at
cool,
that.
isn't it?
You must
I always
be so
think that's cool,
proud.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Amy, grab that thing, that sticker thing, would you?
What do you want?
That sticker thing.
That is incredible.
Yeah, I always think that looks pretty cool.
It is. But you made it look so easy.
Well, I'll tell you the truth. I mean, I have been doing it for a long time, but it's,
And you're going to make mistakes when you first try, right?
yes, you do.
So.
But you know what? You can usually still eat them.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, if it doesn't go in the casing right, you still can make
Well, you'll see at the end of this,
rolls.
there'll be some left at
Okay.
the bottom, which you can't get it all out. So at the bottom, we'll have some bulk, and we'll just put that. That's always the sausage maker's tip. You get the little bit of that's left in there, and you cook that up and see how it looks.
Oh, now if you weren't a meat eater, let's say, or a pork eater, you could do this with chicken.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Now we've made like a chicken apple cranberry sausage. I mean, you can get really creative. And the thing about chicken, I mean, we try to be very clean and very good. But come on in, we got to turn this again. But with chicken, you really have to be careful about contamination.
Oh, okay.
Like
so,
really, I will make chicken sausage, and we've made it a number of times. But I generally,
well, is there any other alternative? Is there any kind of vegan?
I wished I knew better. I know that you can substitute in some almonds.
Okay.
Or no, pecans to take a portion of some of the fat. The oils from the pecan will
Could you
contribute
do
to the fat.
turkey? I know turkey is a
Oh,
little
yeah.
turkey.
Oh, yeah.
Turkey sausage.
Sure.
Oh well, you see that at the store. Yeah.
Yeah.
And basically the same thing. You do the same thing.
Exact
Okay.
same thing. Yep. But as I say, you got to, and you don't get that protein extraction as much with that, so you have to kind of work it a little bit differently. Boy, that got right down there though.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the key, you really want to keep your product not just clean, but cold. And like when we have our sausage day, had our sausage day up north, we'd always do it the day after Christmas, and we didn't have to worry about that. We did it in the garage, and it was cold. Like at times like this, like I just took this out of the freezer.
Thank
So
you, Amy.
you want to keep it cold.
Okay. Now, I know when I slice like some meat, like say for a stir fry, I like it a little frozen to slice it. So that's the kind of texture you're talking about?
It's essentially doing the same thing.
Oh, okay.
In here, you're cutting it with, those little knives instead of your knife. But yeah, you're doing it for the same reason. Okay. There. It's not going on very far for some reason. Okay. So that's a good one when you go through the whole thing and don't have a bust out. Sometimes especially with lamb casing.
So that would happen.
Sheep casing.
And don't
does.
freak out, right?
Yeah.
When that happens.
You just got to deal with
keep
it and
on
put it
going.
back in the stuffer and
Okay.
keep going.
And you're going to make mistakes first time. That's just the way
Hey,
it is.
we just made a batch of hot dogs about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and we had lots of bust outs.
Now, what the
sheet
heck
casing.
is that?
This is a little thing I'll show you. You don't want air in the product, so we try to go through. When I make the links, I'll go through and stick each link to make sure that it.
Oh, so it's like hitting a potato
Yep.
when you put it in
Yep.
the oven so it doesn't like blow up.
Yep.
Okay, all right. Here we go again. Here we go again.
Probably. Hold on, Amy. Hold on.
Okay,
probably
so
the
what's
best
that
viewing.
looking like? That's
Well,
like
pulled
too
off a
much.
little too much casing.
Okay, all right.
So
Just
kind
want
of
to
back that up, and you can see that air trap there.
And here we're
See?
going to use that tool. What's that called?
An air releaser.
Air release. Clever, clever
No,
name.
I think
I
it's
like it.
It's
I'm
actually
going with it.
I think it's a pricker. Is actually
Pricker,
what's known.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I got to say, sausage just tells it like it is. The name of things are like very descriptive, so that's great.
This one's a runaway. Hold on.
Close to
Hold on.
the end,
Are we? Okay. Okay. Go ahead.
But Amy, your tension is just a slow grind.
Yeah, and Randy will say, go faster or slower because you want to not rip the casings, but you also don't want air into it.
Okay.
So, and you don't want to hit him in the head with this.
No, that would be bad.
Yeah.
You don't want to do that.
Okay.
Oh my God.
So that's our stuffing done. And,
Wonderful.
so we're going to just make links out of this now. And it'll look like.
Okay. So this is what it should look like when you finish stuffing.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
So this one
wow.
might be a little bit tight because you'll see as we make links, it kind of makes it tighter.
Okay.
So we're just going to go here, like pick the length. Whoa, runaway link. And then about there, you try to get them as even as you can.
Okay.
And we're just going to turn that.
Whoa. Look at that.
Turn that.
Can I try that?
Sure.
Okay.
So you want to pinch it first.
Well, okay, about the same place, and you pinch it,
Pinch it.
and then you want to twirl
You
the
gotta
one in
pinch
the
it both
middle.
places.
Okay.
Yep, pinch there.
And then you.
But gentle.
Oh, okay. And then you twirl it like that. Okay. All right. Got to do it again. Just make sure.
Do some further over.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay. So pinch it on both
So you're
sides.
but you let one go by. So you let that one go by.
Oh, okay. Oh, that makes sense. Yeah. And then you do it about the same size.
Twist them. So yeah, just kind of. There you go.
And then let one go by.
Yep.
Okay. It's interesting. Wow. Oh my gosh. It kind of feels like a balloon.
Yeah.
And then
So
we'll
just-
leave that
yeah,
for
just leave
dad.
that one,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah,
That'll
that's a
be the
good one
big
for
one.
dad.
Yeah.
That's for the baby and
that's-
that's for the dad. Okay.
So and then we'll need a lugger rinse down him. So, Amy. So with this guy, we're going to do the same thing. This is a little looser, so I'll have a little bit easier time. Like Ron Gotcha, when he does it, he just goes like this.
Oh, wow.
And
Yeah.
flips them up. I'm not as
Now,
good at it.
I noticed there's some air in there, not to be critical, but
yeah,
the
no,
air's in there.
It won't
And
be.
you leave it there while you're doing this part.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
You could go through and do it, but this, you can kind of isolate it better once it's already linked.
Okay.
And you got to keep these things laid down. Like if you were to pick this up,
Uh-huh.
especially before the proteins have set, then all these will come undone. So you have to.
I don't understand.
So
tell
let's
me
say that
again.
let's say you pick this up right here.
Uh-huh.
Those are going to go away. You see.
Oh, yeah.
So you have to
So you have to keep it
keep
laid
them
flat on the
laying.
counter.
When you handle them,
Okay.
you got to keep them.
Okay.
So if we were making a smoked sausage, let's say, we'd only be halfway through our process now. We'd be taking these and putting them in the smokehouse and curing them. And you'd already
You
have
would
the cure.
cure them like that?
Yeah, there'd be the
first?
cure would already be in your ingredients.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so the stuff would be in there, and then you'd take them out and you'd condition them in the smokehouse for a period of time. Usually takes an hour, hour and a half to kind of get the surface. That's another tip, I guess, for people who are smoking items. You always want to condition the product before
I
you
don't
turn.
understand that.
So I'll use the word dry, but Ron Gotchell hates that. But basically, you're trying to get the surface of the area of the product ready for the smoke.
Okay.
So if you don't, let's say you have a wet product in your smokehouse, and you turn the smoke on, it gets like the smoke is adhering to the liquid instead of the product.
Oh, okay.
So it
So
gets
if
kind of
that
muddy.
burns off, there goes all your smoke and all
And
your
it's just,
work.
it makes it, and it gives it not a nice taste. It's kind of a muddy thing.
Okay.
So you always want to condition your product before you
Which
smoke
means
it.
dry it off.
Dry the surface of it
Yeah,
out. Yeah.
okay. Now, let's talk a little bit about smoking. So this is fresh, and you can take fresh and you can put it in, can you put it in a smoker?
You can, and you don't have to cure product to smoke it, but it is safer
Okay.
to do that. But I could take this and put it in the smokehouse.
Okay.
Yeah. And you'd want to make it
Or like
a
those
fully
smokers,
cooked product.
the smokers that you have that cooks and
Right.
smokes at
Oh,
the
yeah,
same time?
sure. Yeah, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
easy to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
These aren't all that consistent of links, but
Oh, that's okay. They look kind of cool. You know, nothing's perfect. Life is not perfect.
I wanted them that way. Sorry.
Oh my gosh. Well, let's see. That's quite a few sausages for a big roll.
Yeah.
And this is 11 pounds, correct?
10.
10. Okay, 10 pounds. And now you're using the poker, the sticker, and just letting out any excess air. Okay. Oh my gosh,
see
it's
'em.
sausage. Look
Yeah.
at that.
And you can see it does have quite nice definition, doesn't it?
Oh,
I
it
mean,
does.
yeah. So if you saw this in a case at a
Oh,
Italian meat market, you'd say, "Ooh, that
I
looks
got to
like
get
pretty good
that.
sausage."
Yeah.
Except that one, you wouldn't buy that one
Why? What's
because
wrong with that one?
he's just kind of weak.
Oh, well, you know. The meek shall inherit the earth, isn't there? That is amazing. Okay, and so you go from this to cooking it. Is
Yep,
that correct?
yeah.
Oh,
Although, again, you don't really want to cook this right away. What you really want to do, and if it was a bigger batch or we weren't on the show, I would hang it and let that protein turn, let those myosin proteins bind the product together so you wouldn't.
and you'd want the spices to sort of
Yeah,
kind of
yeah. Some
incorporate
people,
into the meat,
Some
too.
people, and I generally don't do this, but sometimes I do. Some people will make up their meat block. That's what you call the meat that you're putting in. But they'll do their meat block the night or the day ahead of time.
Oh, okay,
And let
yeah.
those seasonings kind of all
and
melt
just keep
together.
that in the refrigerator.
Yep.
Okay, that's good to
then-
know. All right.
But
well,
but like in the sausage day we had, I had a rack. I have a rack, a great big rack, and it as it hangs there, it basically cures. It binds. So.
okay.
And if anybody wants to reach out to me on Facebook or whatever and to do a sausage day, I'd be I'd be eager to do it. It's a fun time.
Thank you. That's
okay.
great. Well, you know what the
Okay.
next thing is?
Well, I think
Heat it and eat it, right? All right, Randy, so this is the finished product.
This is the finished product.
Okay, so I'm going to take a gander at it. It's very warm, so that's good. There you go. You going to try it with me?
I got to try it.
Okay.
Let's go.
We are some good chefs.
There
yeah,
you go.
yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm not going to stop.
Yeah, so that's good.
That is
happy with it.
delicious. Oh, well, Randy.
And you can see the different mouthfeel. I mean, it's
I
a little bit
can.
chewer, yeah.
You can see the definition of other things. And,
Yep.
oh, that's really, really pretty, actually, if you are into sausage.
Beauty's in the eye of the beholder.
That's right. Well, Randy, thank you so much for having us
my
today.
pleasure.
Amy, thank you for being a help. We really appreciate it. Now, I also want to thank Biz and Larry because they are the ones that told me all about Randy. And so if you have a friend that does a great job at cooking, please send me an email and I'll talk them into coming to Cooking at the Lake. So the email address, maryjanewarner2501 at gmail.com. And thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate it. Thank you again, Randy.